But what happened in 2008? Interest in low-carb, high-fat took off and went straight up, and it continued into 2009 until we hit a bit of a backlash with some more resistance to this in the media. I think there's always resistance to new ideas, but we kept it up. There's a lot of books published about low-carb, high-fat in Sweden. This is a table at the bookstore where all the books are about LCHF. Kind of interesting, huh? And in 2010, something else interesting happened. We got our first Olympic gold eating low-carb. So Jeff Volek, is he around somewhere? Maybe you should put this guy, this Swede, on your slide, I think. So he's doing biathlon, skiing and shooting. So this went even higher, the interest in low carb, 2010 and 2011. So much so that a survey last year found that 23% of Swedes were trying to lower their carb intake instead of fat. And 5% said that they were following a strict low-carb diet, such as Atkins, low-carb, high-fat. Well, this is what I showed you last year on the cruise. So the question is, what's happened since then? Anybody curious? Let's start with the red line. Actually, Weight Watchers, they launched a big campaign with TV commercials for their new online service this year, so it's been all over, and they got quite a few searches from that, as you can see. Now, low carb, high fat, there's been no commercials, nothing, It's all free on the internet. And this is what happened. So, it's just taking off, and you actually have to change the scale to see. It's going really well. So much so, actually, that we ran out of butter. An unexpected consequence, you might say. And this is supposed to be the last butter in Sweden, according to a talk show on TV. So they had these, this is 10 pounds of extra salted butter, and it's the last in Sweden. They put it out for auction on an online site. And went up to $750. So $75 a pound. Pretty good. Actually, this kind of eating has become popular in our neighboring countries too. It's spreading. So they had a bit of a butter shortage in Finland too this winter. And in Norway, it got really interesting because they're outside the European Union and they have different import rules, so they couldn't really import more butter. So when their butter ran out, it was gone. This is a newspaper advert from Norway this winter. If you buy, it says if you buy an Audi R8, that's sort of like a luxury car, it's $350,000. If you buy one of those, they will sweeten the deal by handing you a pound of butter for free. True. I don't know how many cars they sold though, but actually this made some headlines across the world, even ending up on the Colbert Report. So, large things have small beginnings, Is it a fad? It's been labeled a fad, but I say it's not. Why? Well, that's simple. Because it works. That's what the highest medical authority in Sweden concluded, and that's what the science shows, as you heard from a lot of other speakers here. I think it's reasonable to ask if it's not low fat that's been a fad all along. This old food pyramid and the new graphic redesign MyPlate, because it's all based on this old idea that fat in the diet raises the cholesterol in the blood and gives you heart disease. But does it? Well, it's not that simple, it seems. If you look at cholesterol, I mean, you know this, of course. The cholesterol can rise a bit on a low-carb diet, but it's mainly the good cholesterol that goes up. We know this now. And having a lot of good cholesterol, that's protective statistically from heart disease. So it's not that simple as we used to believe. And in fact, if you take a look at all the studies, several research groups have done this. Take a look at all the studies. You see no connection between saturated fat like butter and heart disease. So it doesn't work. It never did. And I'm going to show you something really interesting, something that blew my mind when I saw it. Maybe it's going to blow some of your minds too. The largest and best trial of a low-fat diet is the Women's Health Initiative. I think most of you heard of it. They enrolled 50,000 women and randomized them to two groups. One group got the advice to eat a low-fat diet, and the other group to eat as they used to. And then they followed them for 8 years. And the official answer when it comes to the difference is that there was no difference. This happened back in 2006, and it's like perhaps the final nail in the low-fat coffin. But this is known. But the question is this the entire story? Was there no difference at all? Or did this study actually show something unexpected, something embarrassing, and something that the researchers didn't think could be true? Something that's so inconvenient that they preferred to hide it. Do you think? Yes. Where would you hide it in that case? These are the 17 pages of the report, the paper. And I think if you want to hide something, you can't really put it in the abstract, the first page, because that's the first thing that people read, right? And you can't put it in the back in the discussion conclusions, because a lot of people read that. So if you want to hide something, you would put it somewhere in the middle, where people don't read. And that's what they did. So actually in the middle of a paragraph, in the middle of nowhere, they hid the only significant finding in this paper, which is that, okay, this is complicated stuff perhaps, might be meaning, but the hazard ratio for the people with cardiovascular disease at baseline was 1.26. What that means is that people who had heart disease going into this study, if they were told to eat a low-fat diet, they got sicker. They got more heart attacks, 26% more. And this is statistically significant. I think that's amazing. And if you don't believe that they tried to hide it, have a look at this. This is page 9 with a diagram of all the different subgroups. And it's hard to read from the back, but it's if you have hypertension, yes or no. You see the different results. And if you have diabetes, yes or no. Lots of different things, different age groups and so on. And if you take a look at the bottom, you see history of cardiovascular disease. No. But there is no yes. It's not there. But you can actually see it here. These lines, it's there, the yes. And that's the only line that doesn't go over this center line, meaning it's the only statistically significant line. So this is wild. Actually, I was told this by a medical professor in Sweden, and he exchanged a few emails with the lead author of this study. And when he asked her about this, she never replied again. So anyway, the point about this is that, excuse me? Who funded the study? I don't know. I think it's the government. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think we should go all conspiracy theory about this. I think this is only a case of the researchers being embarrassed and confused and taking the easy way out. But the point to all this is that maybe low-fat diets are not only useless, maybe they're actually dangerous for sensitive people.